Hey everyone, I got a great show for you today. One of the things that I like most about this business is you get to talk to people at all different ends of the spectrum. People that have never done a deal to people that have been in the business 30 plus years. You get to talk to wholesalers, buy and hold, flippers, people of all different sorts. And really what you also get to see is you get to meet a lot of quality people. And I have Joel and Shontal with me today, and they fall right into that category. How are you guys doing this evening?
Good. How are you
Good,
doing?
good, doing good.
I'm doing very well. So we
Awesome.
got together. You saw a couple of my posts. I think you talked about my book that I wrote, and everybody that does. I'm like, okay, we got to talk. So
Mhm.
you two come into the real estate game on the newer end. So why don't we just educate everyone and sort of who you are, where you are in the country, and we'll start the interview there.
Okay, we're from Lake Charles, Louisiana, and we're just getting started in the business. So phase one, as you'd say in your book.
There you go.
That's where we are. Yeah.
That's right. Phase one, it's important. You got to get started, right? Everybody starts somewhere, right? I've been lucky enough to almost do 100 interviews now. And whether you
Oh,
were like one of the individuals who's been in the business 31 years, she was very clear about that, spend 6 months a year in Belize now, and the other time overlooking the Miami harbor or something, it was crazy. Or just starting out, right? Everybody has a starting place. So you're in good company.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Do you have an idea? Because this business offers so much, so many options. Have you thought about what little slice of this business is interesting to both of
Um,
you?
yeah, we started off with another couple. He is a contractor,
Okay.
and he approached us about going into business together for flipping.
Okay.
And then I talked to a friend of ours that has several rentals, and he's kind of been in the rental game, family business. Talked to him about maybe just lining up some help, kind of like a mentorship, and he liked the idea so much he wanted to jump in with us. So we've done a lot of research on flipping and kind of checking the market here, and it's gone pretty well as far as finding places. It's just figuring out which one we want to do and kind of going with that. So
Very
we
cool.
actually have two other partners involved with this also. So it's been an interesting dynamic
Yeah.
just for that side of it, let alone finding a flip house.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's peel that back a little bit, right? Partnerships, as I'll call it, um, add their own layer of challenges, right? Because now you have
Yeah.
three opinions at a minimum, and you have that dynamic. It sounds like, and don't let me put words in your mouth. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But it sounds like one of the parties is going to bring the contracting skills and probably the labor. Another one is bringing the money, and you are bringing the skill, the homework, the due diligence, all of that. Is that kind of how it works?
We have one putting in the sweat equity, that's the contractor, and
Yep.
then the other two partners are going to put in the capital.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
So yeah, we secured a HELOC, and the other partner has a business line of credit he's going to be using.
Okay. So the other two partners, yourself and one other, have, I'll call, cheap access to capital, right?
Correct.
The equity lines. That makes sense. So it also sounded like in your story, you're looking somewhere around where you live, because it sounded like you were driving within driving distance.
Yeah. Kind of similar to what you were saying in your book about kind of staying in the Fresno area. You've
Yeah.
kind of done that. We've lived here all our lives, so we kind of have a really good idea of the market and that kind of thing. And we have actually, this is our third house. We started out doing, we wanted to flip, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But that's where we are. So we just kind of started there.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that I recommend for new folks is finding what I'll call a farm area. You can call it whatever you like. It's probably a zip code, an area of town. Have you sort of identified that, or are you kind of all over right now looking for the needle in the haystack?
Well, we have, since we have been here as long as we have good knowledge of what areas to kind of stay away from,
Yeah.
what areas that are going to be too much for us. So there's like a middle area. It encompasses several zip codes.
Okay.
And Lake Charles is kind of like the center of some other small towns that are broken up by geography. We have a major port here.
Yeah.
And a river. So you have Lake Charles across the river, Sulphur, Westlake, Moss Bluff.
Okay.
And all of them are pretty good for potential.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a good idea of where to stay from, where to look at, and home prices in this area.
All right. So I'm just going to refer to that whole region you talked about as Lake Charles, because I don't know it at all. So it's when I say Lake Charles, it's just that whole thing. Yeah. So when you're looking to identify a opportunity or the flip to purchase, I guess I don't want to assume. I assume you're looking at single family homes, or you're looking at duplexes and fourplexes, or is it? I don't know. Is that what kind of market is Louisiana?
Yeah, I mean all of the above.
Okay.
We definitely hold all of that. So as learning, like we were talking about the 3 different partners total.
Yep.
We have came across, we were going to start out by just flipping houses, and that was all we were going to do. And then the more we, actually it was your podcast that I heard that really got me interested in, we were thinking about rental eventually and having a rental portfolio like later down the line.
Sure.
But the more I heard and the more we kind of dove into that, it was like, that seems like the smarter option. So we brought it to our business partners, and one of them was pretty adamant that they did not want to rent at all, not right now. They kind of wanted to stick to the original plan. So all three partners are in for flipping, but only 2 partners are in now for rentals. So we kind of got that dynamic going on as well now. So that's been a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
When do we start? What house do we buy first?
Yeah, that's a dynamic, right? Anytime you have, yes, I understand. It sounds like fun. I'll just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the things I've seen, there have been people that have sort of taken this challenge that you have in front of you, going, okay, a house comes in, right? We go through the process, and then when you look to exit, one thing you could do is go, okay, the 2 partners that want to keep or want to rentals, you could kind of establish a number. I'm just going to make numbers up here. Call it 100. And if your 2 are willing to take it for 100, right, and keep it as a rental, that way the third vendor gets cashed out or the third partner gets cashed out, you could probably roll that in, still get a decent loan, assuming it's fixed up, and get most, if not all, of your capital back. So there are things you could do, but it's certainly messy, or I don't know if messy is the right word. Harder. It's certainly harder. So I'm curious about the market. So, when you're looking to identify a property, what are they? Are they like, are they lived in? They're just, 50 years old and never been touched. Are they boarded up? Where do you start, right? What's a deal look like today?
It's going to be an older house, 50 years plus. It's going to be in an established neighborhood. Lake Charles is currently going through a construction boom. Yeah. With the industries here, there's some petrochem industries, LNG facilities, crude refineries here. Yeah. And the area is probably in the middle of a $50 to $60 billion construction investment.
Well, that's not terrible.
So it's been a very interesting. There was a shortage of housing here in the beginning for a lot of these guys coming in. They were going to build some man caps. They never got around to doing that. So the rental right now, it's definitely on the side of the landlords. For sure. Because there aren't as many properties. So the rental here is pretty good. Yeah. Problem is they have built 5 to 6, 200 to 300 room apartment complexes here. And I think what's going to happen is once this construction boom ends in another 5 to 7 years, there's going to be a lot of vacancies here. So we're kind of trying to take care of trying to get on this end of it while we can, and try to keep it affordable housing, affordable rentals. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, and again, I like how you're already looking at the future. That's a good sign because, through my lens, I could tell you how those little, what was it, 600 or 6,000 man caves or whatever they're being built. What was that number again? 6,000. That's crazy. Those are eventually going to be dangerous, frankly, right? When this boom happens or when it ends, because it eventually ends, even if it's 15 years from now, it eventually ends, right? The business cycle happens. you're not going to want to be anywhere close to those things. And on the
Mhm.
flip side of that is you're going to want to be in houses, because when in doubt, people want houses. They want more room. They want to stretch out. They want to have their own dogs and cats and multiple children that aren't going to be good for those, 500 square foot, shacks or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's smart to stay in front of that. So, give us a feel for kind of what's the entry price, for a, 50-year-old house in Lake Charles. Is it like 60 grand, 40 grand, 100 grand? I have no idea.
Well, I mean, like for, I guess it depends on the condition of it.
Sure. Something you'd consider.
Yeah. We're looking more probably around 60, probably around
Okay.
67.
So let's
that
just,
we would offer, for
yeah.
the house. Yeah.
So I'm just trying to get a feel, right? So let's just say it's 60 grand. Then you need to put in what for most people would be 40 grand in make ready costs, right? New floors, electrical, plumbing, that kind of stuff. Roof, maybe.
Yeah. We're trying to look at houses that we won't have, especially being our first one. We're trying to look at houses that we don't have a whole lot of big costs, like the ACs, the roofs, and things like that. We're kind of hoping and looking a little for like more cosmetic stuff, more updated, because we've got a lot of houses here that are outdated.
Yeah.
Just need to be, updated in that way. Not a whole lot of big things inside, tearing down walls or remodeling or anything like that, So
yeah. So
maybe
maybe
we're hoping to spend 15, 20 maybe.
Okay. So let's call it 20 grand. Okay. I'm just trying to get a feel for the market. All right. So now you're into it 80, right? So you bought it for 60. Let's say it cost you 20 to get in. Now when you exit, what's the market look like for a house that's fully remodeled? Is it like 110, 125? I mean, I have no idea.
It'd be around there.
Yeah. Okay.
The 60,000 range is going to be probably 15 to 1,700 square feet.
Yep.
It's going to not be in the best part of part of town.
Yep.
Not very good school districts. So that's going to kind of be our lower end. I think the upper end is going to be probably around 90 to buy, 30 to put in to rehab, and then maybe sell for 150, somewhere around there. That's kind of the upper end of what we're looking for in a little bit better neighborhood, a little bit better school
zones
districts
and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the first one, again, I'll just repeat it so make sure I'm not wrong. So buy for 60, put 20, sell for 110, kind of a 30K spread. But the same one, buy for 90, spend 30, sell for 150, kind of area differences, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that, that's 30 grand. You still have transaction costs on the buy and the sell. So you're probably talking, assuming those numbers, probably 22,000 probably in profit. So that just, to give you a scope, right? That might be a little skinny because you're like one AC from being, in trouble. So just remember, in this business, you always make money on your buy. So, if you could buy it for 57 and 87 instead of 60 and 90, anytime you can chisel off just an extra grand or two, when you're playing with really skinny spreads, you're going to be in a much better place. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other question though, is you might want to keep them as a rental. So what do these rent for, right? What would the 110 house rent for versus the 150 house rent for? Any idea?
I think we would be close to 1,000 for the first one.
Yeah.
And maybe 12 to 1,300 for the second one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you're, like I said, it's a pretty hot market for rentals right now. So a lot of people are actually, the bridge that connects Sulphur to Lake Charles is right off of I-10 interstate. Yeah. And that is basically how the workers, the employees from Lake Charles get to the refineries in Sulphur. Yeah. It's down to one lane. Ooh. So there's actually been a lot of people moving from Lake Charles to the other side of the bridge because you're in traffic 2-3 hours sometimes just to get home.
That's no
fun. Yeah. So, I mean, just something like that, just the dynamic of something like that has
I know where I'd be buying my rentals on the other side.
Yeah. That's right.
So just with these numbers, right? Again, I don't know anything, but I can tell you, if you could buy a house for 60 and put 20 in and rent for 1,000 or 1,100, you're going to be able to buy those with your equity lines, repair them, and then go back to a bank and refi them out, and you'll be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what we're hoping.
Yeah, you could get all of your capital back, but you would certainly get 90% of your money back. Just looking at raw numbers, and you check this with your bank and your lender, and hey, my opinion doesn't matter, but just doing the simple math, that looks like a pretty good deal. The upper one, not quite as good, right? Just price your neighborhoods, right? They just don't quite have the same return, but that 60-20 is pretty sexy at $1,000 a month. Because if it appraises at 120, you go get a 70-30 loan, you get back almost 80 grand, which is what you have in. So that's pretty exciting. So I think you're onto something, I guess, is the answer there. So
good.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, no, I'm just running. Yeah. When in doubt, run the numbers, right? Well, shoot, I have a calculator. Let's find out what 70% of 115 is. Let's just be conservative. 115 times 0.7 equals, $80,500. Look at that. I did that in my head. How about that? So you would get all your money back, maybe except $1,000 or $2,000 for transaction costs, which, split by two partners. And then you have a rental, right? You have a rental with 30% equity. You're probably cash flowing at least $150 a month. But then again, I don't know taxes in Louisiana. I don't know. Is property taxes a big deal? Are they high, low? I have no idea.
Not
They're not
really.
terrible. No,
Okay.
they're not terrible.
They're not like Texas then. Texas is crazy.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, Texas Louisiana taxes everything they possibly can, so they're not as big. They're just a bunch of them.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I'm excited for you. That's pretty awesome. So earlier in this, you talked about this is your third house. Why don't we peel that back a little bit?
So
what's the story there?
Okay. We started out, we've been together and we've been married. It'll be 17 years in March.
Nice.
So
congratulations.
Thanks. We bought our first house when we were pregnant for our first child. He's 16 now.
Oh.
And we had intentions to buy and flip, and then whatever money we pulled off of that, we'd roll into the second house and keep doing that until we had enough or close to enough really good down payment, or we were really hoping for all of it to be able to build a house.
Okay.
And but we were young and we made some dumb financial decisions, and so
we all do. It's part of the game.
Yeah, I think so. So after we flipped, we actually had a really good return on our first house. We bought it for $60 in a great neighborhood, and Hurricane Rita hit here. And when Hurricane Rita hit, everything went up so high in return. And so we ended up coming out, we made a profit of $50,000 on the house.
Score.
So it was a really big profit. So we ended up just paying off some debt, and we had a little left over, and, kind of held on to that, kind of rolled some of that back into the second one with repairs and stuff. The second house, we had it on the market for a while, but it just wasn't a really great, market at the time to sell. And we just kept it on, hung out for a while. And we ended up not getting as much as we wanted. And which is, we ended up finding out after we bought this house, we're in our third house now. We sold it for $160, I think. And the couple that bought it from us was a couple that we knew, and turned around like 2 years later and sold it for $40,000 more. We were so sick. We're like, what?
Not happy.
No.
Yeah, that would be not a good day.
No, it was not. And it's still we're still a little bitter about it, but
make them buy dinner all the time.
Yeah. So, we're here. We rolled some of that into this house, and this is the most every house we've just updated, just cosmetic stuff. Each house, the second house was a little bit more than the first. This one we updated everything, and then we took walls down and did some things. We did some reno stuff, and we plan to stay. We're like, we're not moving.
Yeah.
Our plans aren't working out the way we wanted. We don't really have a whole lot in the bank, for that house we wanted to build. And so we've gotten about 90% of the house done. It'll be 6 years in August that we've been here.
Okay.
And we got our master bath and our kitchen left to do, and that's about it. But it was interesting reading in your book how you said y'all had some of the same stuff y'all were wanting to do, and y'all kind of held out. So at this point, I don't really know what we're going to do. We've held out this long. We're trying to save up the money to pay cash for it all, and
Yeah. Yeah.
We hadn't quite got there yet, and then we decided to start a business. So I
Yeah.
don't know what that'll lead to.
Yeah. Olivia sacrificed. So Olivia, my wife, she's the better half, as I hopefully say lots of times in the book. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Point over there. Yeah. Good man. She, we moved into a condo, townhouse, whatever you want to call it, in '99, and it's basic. It was, it had the white appliances. I'm sure they were cheap as heck. And she suffered for 15 plus years, and with this little range, and she really did. Right.
I'm feeling her pain.
It was, but again, she did it on purpose, and it paid off.
Yeah.
And now, on the other side of that, she got her $60,000, gallery kitchen, and, to your point, you paid cash for it.
Yeah.
So, it will pay off. Just don't get excited early, right? She could have taken one of our refis or something like year 5 and done that, but it would have just killed our growth, right?
Yeah.
We waited until we were really out, right? Had that escape velocity as opposed to just one little bump. So, I don't know if that helps, but, but keep investing in the business.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because it gives you more, gives you more positive cash flow, right?
It is about escape velocity, right? There will be times in this business, like you had one of them already, that $50,000, event. That'll happen again, I promise. And what some people do is they take a big piece of that and they throw it at a want instead of a need, and that just kills their growth. It's like taking the air out of a balloon. Right. It's just starting to rise. Use this. And then it starts over. Right. They just never get off the ground. So I know that probably doesn't sound good as you're looking at your kitchen or whatever. And you're going to be like, I hate that guy. What is he doing?
No, I get it. Because we've been talking about it for a couple of years. And I've kind of like, when we were in the process of doing all the house and stuff, it's like, oh, we got to do this. We got to do this. I'm just on a roll, and then it's kind of like come to a screeching halt. It's like, well, kitchens are a little bit more than this, or bathrooms are a little bit more than that. So
exactly.
We'll just hang out. So I've kind of gotten comfortable, I guess,
good.
Content, I guess, with what I've got, and I'm just grateful that it heats up and we can cook dinner every night. So
there you go. You have bigger things in front of you than worrying about the little kitchen or whatnot. So you'll be fine. So it does sound like these first 2 homes. It sounded like you lived in them during the remodel.
Oh yes. Yes, that was another hard thing, having little kids.
Oh, I can only imagine.
So that was another reason.
That's probably what destroyed the process, was the fact that we're living in them, concrete floors. I come home from working all day, come home, and the last thing I want to do is work on it. Weekends come, I don't want to work on the house. And I think that's kind of what ruined us. The third house we were living in, and we sold the second house. We stayed in an apartment for a year.
Okay.
When we found this house, we actually had a month to get a lot of the work done here to where we could actually move furniture in, and we didn't have major projects. The floor, we had popcorn ceilings, scraped all that out. It was 90% of the house was paneling.
Yeah.
I would come up here at 4:00 in the morning and rip as much paneling as I could before I had to go to work.
And I was here till 3:00 in the morning painting.
We did a lot of stuff in that 1 month. I mean,
awesome.
it was just go after it, but we got it done, moved in, and then a lot of it was just cosmetic. And she should be an interior designer with her talent, so she
that's nice.
She's repurposed everything, which I appreciate so much because it saved a lot of money.
That's awesome.
Repurpose everything.
Yeah.
So
well, the other thing I can say that you two have going for you is you're clearly in this together, right?
Yes.
I talk about in the book having that hard conversation. And you've clearly had it, and I don't even know if it was hard, right? Because you guys just seem to be mind melded together. So congratulations. That'll do great things for you, because you'll have bad days. For example, right? Your friends made 40 grand on you in 2 years, right? That probably doesn't feel good. But if you were not in that together, right? One of you would use it as that thing you throw out in a fight. See, I told you Susan and Mark would screw us, or whatever that was, right? So don't do that. That's bad.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
All right. So let's,
I usually just do what she says, and I save a lot of trouble and heartache.
Oh, dude, life is so much better. It's just
so much easier.
It's
so much better.
Easier, better. Exactly. You're smarter, better looking. Just awesome.
Right.
So let's paint the vision of where you guys want to be in 3 to 5 years. So I love your story. I can see what you're doing. I think the 60-20 refi out is going to work for you. So, let's pretend it's 5 years from now. What would that be? 2024. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, okay. So honestly, not sure really.
Okay.
Actually kind of hoping to get some realistic ideas from you on this
All right.
because, you know, we listed, like we kind of came up with our first year goal.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that
Which was,
then.
we wanted to, so our goal was to flip 2 houses,
Okay.
with, you know, all of our business partners and
Okay.
then have 4 rentals, in this year. But when, I presented this to one of our business partners, he kind of seemed to panic. So kind of
Yeah.
made me think that maybe that was not such a realistic, starting out point.
Yeah.
You know, we have dreams.
Sure.
I would love to own a, you know, vacation rental condo, possibly in Florida, and
Okay.
eventually a small island resort. You know, I got big dreams, right?
There you go.
I know that, you know, getting to the dreams, you got to kind of turn it in order to turn it into reality. You got to put it into small goals, you know?
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
Okay.
I think I just kind of need to take one step at a time, you know? He's
Yeah.
like, okay, let's just scale back just a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And
Dude, she's ready to move to the beach already. She's
There
like,
you go.
I'm ready for a beach vacation. I'm ready for this. Like, whoa, let's slow down.
We got a little bit of work ahead of us.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we flip the script and now have you ask me some questions, and we can start wherever you want. If you want to start with goals, if you have questions lined up, whatever you want.
Okay. Well, yeah, we can start there. Like what you would think might be some realistic ideas for, even like some first year goals, or, you know, what 3 to 5 years could look like realistically.
Yeah. So what I would tell you about year one is I would coach not to have a divided focus. Obviously I'm a buy and hold person, so I like the idea that rentals were in the answer. But although since you have partners and I know that whole dynamic, I would focus on getting 2 flips successfully done. And I might even up it like by October, right? Instead, we always use these year markers as just this natural thing. But I think if you got 2 flips done by October, I think you'll learn a lot. First of all, you're going to learn if these partners are ones you want to stay with long-term. You know, you're going to figure out if your numbers work, right? Mm-hmm. So I think year one, that would be a good goal. To focus on flips. You can keep learning rentals, but I wouldn't divide that focus right now.
Okay.
Okay.
If you want to do one.
Okay, so here's probably my only question I want you to answer.
All right.
Okay. Brace yourself.
So
as he leans in,
I want to read because I thought this one out. I mean, I spent some time thinking this one out, so I'm going to read it and make sure that. Okay.
Understood.
So how do you go about finding the perfect house in a great neighborhood for the least amount of money, where you put minimum amount in for rehab with the shortest time on the market with the greatest return? That's my only question, and we're done. If you can answer that question, then everybody can go into real estate, right?
Well, it's nothing like throwing a softball out there for me. Yeah. So typically in real estate investing, you're going to get 1 or 2 of those. You'll never find that, obviously, as we laugh. But that said, can I find a great house in a good neighborhood? Absolutely. Can I find a house with little maintenance and little repairs? Absolutely. So you have to figure out what makes the best return for you, right? Mm-hmm. And the beauty of this business, it is so network centric, right? You're probably doing a lot of work now, looking and driving for dollars and feeling your network. Because you've been in that area forever, I would scream from the rooftops that you're in the real estate business and you want to dominate Lake Charles, right? Tell everybody you know, we are looking for everybody that's selling off market. Any relatives that want to sell, call us. It'll be amazing. Like if you tell 50 people, that will become 200 people. And then you'll be amazed at what comes to you. And you may find that great house that grandma lived in for 40 years. And now her son, who moved to freaking LA to be an actor, wants out. I don't know. Right. I'm sure it happens.
Yeah.
So the big key to finding and attracting deals is telling everybody you know that you're in the business. I had a phone call 2 days ago from somebody I bought a house from a year and a half ago. He goes, you know what? I think he's like 72 or 73. He's like, I want to sell the rest of my portfolio. I want to own or finance them. And I don't even want retail, right? I want to give you the deal. So he's going to essentially hand us $200,000 in equity under the guise of we won't cash him out until he passes away.
Gotcha.
Right? So we write that up in the contract, as long as you do the right things by people, it's amazing what happens. And that's because you just need to be networking, do what you say you're going to do. I closed on his house the day I said I would for the amount I would. And he remembered that. And he's like, I bet you never thought you would hear from me. I'm like, no, I never did, but thank you for reaching out. You know? So that's one thing that most people get wrong is they just spend time looking in Excel, or they look at realtor.com or Redfin or whatever the popular app is in Louisiana, and they don't go out and talk to people, right? You both are very social, and you're great to speak to. Go talk to the neighbors, right? Let them know, right? Have a little door hanger and say, hey, the door hanger could be, hey, we're looking to buy in this neighborhood. I know you're not selling, but anybody else? You just never know.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. So I would dominate your farm area. And if that's, Lake Charles, go for it. Dominate it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. So the very first transaction, how do you get over the anxiety of actually pulling the trigger?
Oh, there you go. This is the biggest answer I have for you. It took a while to get there. You have to know your buying criteria. I mean, but what I mean by that is, let's say it's a flip. You have to see $30,000 or $40,000 or whatever the number is. You have to see that in the deal very conservatively. So for us, because I was buying hold, I wasn't flipping at that time, was we had to have a 1% deal. What that meant is the house, as you read in the book on Norris Drive, we bought it for 107, so it rented for 1,100. So that was, the rent was greater than 1% of the purchase price. Mm-hmm. That was the first house we saw that was available that hit that. I had to pull the trigger or I would never do a deal. That was my buying criteria. Today, my buying criteria is different. I want an 8% return on my cash. So if I put $20,000 down or $60,000 down, I want to make sure that the rent is giving me that 8% return. And when I see it, I pull the trigger. I don't even think anymore. It's a reflex, right? And if it's below that number, I don't even bother. Or I lower the price. Because the beauty of this business is list price is just a number. Right? If somebody lists something for 150, but my model says I can only pay 120, guess what? I'm going to offer 115 and go up to 120. And if they don't want it, I don't care. It doesn't fit my model. You have to be comfortable with that. So sit down, figure out what your return is, and then just be laser focused. It's just like, I'm not a hunter, but I imagine, right? You're holding a gun, there's a sight. When something crosses that sight, you pull the trigger. So do the same thing.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense for around here because it's nothing but hunting.
There you go. I figured. I don't know.
A lot of hunting, a lot of fishing. Sports in paradise. So
there you go. Well, you know what I'm talking about then.
Okay, so conventional lending versus hard money lending.
Do conventional all the time for the first 4, no doubt. Cheaper, less paperwork. Cheaper on points, expenses. You get 30-year fixed rate debt. You only go to hard money if the property is destroyed and no bank will lend on it, or it's like 2010 and the banks have shut down and they're not lending anymore.
Gotcha. Okay.
But when in doubt, go conventional every time.
Conventional.
Okay, cool. Do you want to current one?
We'll get back. Let's go through the
So we had met a guy through, we go to the meetups and stuff.
Sure.
Here locally, we've been doing that once a month. And we were asking about the hard money lending stuff because there were some hard money asset lenders there. Mm-hmm. And so we met a guy, and let's see, he has about 20 years real estate investing experience. He says to keep your money in the bank and always use other people's money. So a couple of my questions are, can you do this even with down payments? Cause he said you can use them to finance like even repair costs and stuff like that. So your advice on this, but maybe that just ties back into the one he just asked, like just always go conventional.
No,
go conventional.
I want to, this one's going to take some time. Cause I'm using the free version of Zoom. I need to stop this one and send you a new invite so we can start this up again. So let's stop this and let's do it again. So everybody watching, realize there's going to be a phase 2, and this is a great question. So you're going to want to watch.